Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to What's Cooking in Bert's Kitchen. It's early in the morning here. Woke up quite a bit hungry. Got a lot of things to get done today, so what I'm going to need is a good breakfast. We're going to start today. We're going to cover doing some eggs and a good old southern favorite, grits. To start with, you're going to need a couple of things. Saucepan, small saucepan, and a frying pan for our eggs. Again, I'm using cast iron. If you want to use an omelet pan, we're going to make an omelet today. I'm going to show you an interesting way to do this. First thing you want to do, turn the broiler on in your oven, let it get hot. Okay, now we're going to talk about grits. What are grits? Well, grits are a rough ground cornmeal. It's basically boiled cornmeal. Same thing as polenta. So if your name ends in a vowel, more than likely you've had a lot of polenta in your life. Grits are kind of a coarse ground cornmeal, but basically just cornmeal. If you have cornmeal in your pantry, you can make some grits. It's really, really simple. Now, the beauty of grits is that it's basically a blank canvas. It's just boiled cornmeal. Not a whole lot of flavor there, but what it will do is take on any flavors that you want to add to it. Now, we have to do a little bit of math, and I'm going to try and keep this as uncomplicated as possible for you in order to make grits. I find that a 5-to-1 ratio of liquid to cornmeal is exactly what I want. Now here I have 2/3 of a cup of water. What I'm going to do is add enough milk to bring this up to 1 1/4 cups. I could give you the exact measurements, but it's early in the morning, we're making breakfast. I'm getting my coffee. Nobody wants to do that kind of math. So here we have 1 1/4 cups of liquid. Pop it into our pan. Turn it on medium to medium-high heat, and let's bring it to a boil. Meanwhile, we want to start heating our frying pan for our eggs. Now the grits are going to take a little while, but I want to get that pan up to heat because you never want to throw eggs into a cold pan. They're just not going to cook right. This is the point where you want to add, and not a lot, just a little pinch of salt. Much like pasta, this is your only chance to get a little bit of salt flavor in there. If you try and add it after they're cooked, it's really not going to, you're going to have to add a whole lot more salt and really increase your sodium. Not good for you, healthy. Okay, so our milk's come to a boil. Now you got to keep a constant eye on this because you've got milk and water in here. Milk, if you've ever tried to boil milk, well, it'll start to bubble over on you, which is why I'm using a deep pan for this little bit. But now we're going to throw in 1/4 cup of grits. Like I said, a 5-to-1 mixture. I have 1 1/4 cups of water. So 1/4 cup of cornmeal. Now, we get the hot heat immediately down to as low as it'll possibly go. And whisk like crazy because you don't want big nuggets of cornmeal. You want to make sure it all gets mixed in there well. Now, here's where we can add, as I said, it was a bit of a blank canvas. It'll now take on flavor components. I'm adding a bit of pepper, just to give it a little bite. At the end, I'm going to throw in a little butter and a little cheese, and they'll be perfect. Okay, so it's all well mixed in there. We've got it as low as we can. What you want to do is put a lid on it. Now, I've lost the covers to these pans, so I'll just throw a plate over top of it. Put a lid on it, and set your timer for 15 minutes. Now, we've got our frying pans heating up on a medium-low heat, so it'll maintain its temperature. About 10 minutes into this process, I'm going to come by and we're going to start our eggs. Because they're only going to take a minute to make this omelet. Trust me, it's not a difficult thing. Now, I'm just going to make a regular old egg omelet. You can add anything you want to it. If you were going to add meats, or say peppers and onions and things like that, that you want cooked down a little bit, now would be the time to throw a little butter or oil in there to grease the pan and start to cook them down slowly. Let them sweat out. You throw in some sausage or ham or whatever it is that you're going to add into your omelet. In this case, I'm just going to make regular old egg omelet to give you an idea of how it's done. So we'll give this a good 9-10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll get started on the egg. Okay, so this stuff's been cooking about 10 minutes. Now we're going to deal with some eggs. Get out a bowl. Add in a couple of eggs. Just a splash of milk. Whip that up really good. Make sure you got everything completely well combined. No streaks in there of different colors. That it's all one solid white whipped color. You're going to get a lot of air into there. Slap a little butter in the bottom of our pan so that our eggs don't stick. You know it's nice and hot. Slap your eggs in there. They're going to start cooking right away, so you want to scramble them up a bit. Now once they start to scramble up just a little bit, leave them nice and liquid and let them sit and fill up the whole bottom of the pan. At this point, I throw in a little salt, a little pepper. Take a nice little spatula, move it around. Get some of that liquid down to the bottom. And make sure, you might have to tilt your pan a little bit, but make sure you get a nice round circle of eggs in there. And let it cook for just a minute. Now at this point it's become pretty solid on the bottom. If you were going to add cheese, throw it in here now. And you'll see that the top is nice and liquid and not very cooked. Remember earlier we turned on our oven to broil. You want to slap that under the broiler for just a minute or so. You see we've taken our eggs out of the oven now, out of the from under the broiler, and they fluffed up and risen almost like a souffle. Now to turn this out, what I do is I take my spatula and I fold it in half, fold it over here in the pan, slide it right out onto the plate. Now at this point, our grits are also done. Turn that off, take off the lid, slap in a tablespoon of butter, and here I'm going to add some cheddar cheese. Just a bit. Just give it a good whip so your cheese is all in there and melted and your butter is all completely combined. Here we have a nice, beautiful, high protein, good carb load breakfast. Absolutely wonderful breakfast. Service with a side of bacon. Again, some toast, some biscuits. Absolutely wonderful. Thanks for joining us. Come back and see us next time. Find out what's cooking in Bert's kitchen.